Good morning, Mount Pleasant Elementary School students. This week in art, we are going to be talking about one-point perspective. One-point perspective helps you, it's a drawing technique that helps you achieve depth in your artwork. So things are going to look farther away, they get smaller, and as things are closer to you, we draw them bigger. But one-point perspective, we're going to be using something called a vanishing point that's going to help our drawing look a little bit more like 3D and realistic. So we're going to try that. This concept's kind of hard, so you're going to need to practice, but I guarantee that if you practice and you follow the steps closely, you will have a successful time with this kind of concept. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you create, and I think we can get started. This lesson is all about perspective, how we view or see something. And so we're going to be talking about perspective a lot when we're drawing today. We're going to be talking about a vanishing point. This is the area or spot in a work of art where things gradually have gotten far away that they seem so far that they disappear or they vanish. So if you're standing in a field, look far out. The things that are farther away are going to be really small, and the things closer to you are going to appear bigger. So we're going to be doing basic one-point perspective. We're going to have a vanishing point in our drawing, a horizon line that separates the ground and the sky, and then we're going to use some guidelines to help us create our art. As they move back into space, things will be smaller when we use our guidelines. So for this project, you're going to need a ruler, some white paper, a pencil, a Sharpie or a black crayon, and some crayons. You're going to need listening ears and some heart to put in your art. Go ahead and hit the pause button and gather your materials. The first direction is to write your name, because no name, no fame, and your art code. If you don't know your art code, it's just going to be your grade and the first letter of your teacher's name. Go ahead and flip your paper like a pancake. Holding my paper the horizontal way or the long way because we're drawing a landscape. And so the first thing we're going to do is find our vanishing point. It's kind of in the middle of our paper, and we're just going to make a little teeny point. It doesn't need to be big because it's going to be just a guideline. The next thing is you're going to use your ruler to create a horizon line. That is where the ground meets the sky, and you want to draw light. Let me say it again. You want to draw light. Don't bear down with your pencil, because a lot of these guidelines are going to get erased later, and we don't want to leave any ghost lines. Then you're going to take the corners of your pages, line your ruler up to the corner. Did I line it up to the corner? No, I didn't. I did at the top, but I didn't at the bottom, so I'm going to have to erase that. But you're going to line it up to the corners, and then you're going to draw lightly a little line that goes right down to your vanishing point. You're going to do this for all 4 corners. Draw light until you get it right. So I messed up on the left side, so I'm just going to go ahead and redraw and then erase the one that I made a mistake on, and that's okay. There we go. That's why we have erasers. So you want to make sure your little guidelines are all pointing to your small vanishing point in the middle. So our diagonal lines are going to serve as a guideline for our buildings. On the right, we're going to draw buildings, and on the left, we're going to be drawing trees. So let's start with our buildings. We're going to start with a basic rectangle. The one key thing to keep in mind is keep them in between your guidelines, those diagonal lines. So I'm just going to draw a basic rectangle, kind of looking like a skyscraper, in between those lines. And a good way to make these look like they are 3-dimensional is to actually use your guidelines to help create the side that would be 3D. And so I'm just going to line my ruler up to my guidelines and then slide it down to the corner of my rectangle. It's like you're copying and pasting that line to the corner of your rectangle. I'm just going to draw it a little bit out. Same thing with the bottom. I'm lining it up to that guideline, placing it on the corner of my rectangle, and then I'm just going to use a straight line to connect the two. This is going to make your building look like it's going back into space and look like it's 3-dimensional. You're going to do the same thing for your building next to it. You can put 1 or you can put 2, how many of your buildings you can fit within your guidelines. My horizon line went through my building, and we don't want that because it's in front of the land. So we're going to erase it like my building is in front or on top of my horizon. It's covering up that part of my eye. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to draw a smaller rectangle fitting inside my guidelines. And then I'm going to use the sides with my ruler to copy and paste that little line next to the corner of my rectangle. Same thing for the bottom, copy, paste to my rectangle, and then I'm going to use a straight line to connect them. there's my second building. You could do a third if you want. I'm going to erase my horizon line that goes through my building to make it appear a little bit more cleaner. A third building, you're doing the same instructions that I did on the first two. If it looks a little weird, go ahead and erase and try again. That's what an eraser is for, and this is a harder technique, so just try your best. The next thing we are going to do is we're going to draw the middle of our road. So in the middle of the road, we normally see a dotted line, but the cool thing about perspective is as things move back into space, they get smaller, but they also get closer together. So as I draw my dotted line, I'm going to make it bigger as it moves to the edge of my paper, and I'm going to spread it out a little bit. Doesn't it look like it's moving back into space now? Isn't that a cool trick? Now, on the left side, actually, I'm going to go ahead and make my street a little bit bolder. So I'm just going to make those, like, bear down a little bit harder with my pencil because those are going to be permanent. I'm going to Sharpie those later. So that's going to be part of my road. It's already looking really cool. I'm going to erase my guidelines and get ready for the left side of my paper. We're going to draw trees on the left side. Now, if you didn't like the buildings and you wanted to do trees on both sides, that's fine too. How I draw trees is I just start with letter Y's. Letter Y's are good branches. And so after I do a letter Y, I'm just going to do smaller Y's off my big Y. And I'm just going to fill it up. You could make these bare trees like it's the winter. You could put fall leaves on them. Or if you have a different way you want to draw trees, that's fine. Just make sure you're staying within those guidelines. I'm going to make the trees their trunk a little bit fatter at the bottom. And as I do my trees that are farther away, I'm going to put less details on them. Using my ruler, I'm going to go ahead and make that side look like it has a sidewalk. You could do this on both sides if you want, but I just want to show you a trick. So I'm going to use that line as a guideline and draw one really close to it, all going to my vanishing point. And if you draw your lines diagonal, it doesn't look like it is appearing because it isn't copying that horizon line. So the horizon line is what's in the middle. I'm going to erase and show you what it looks like when you copy the horizon line. So that's that line right there. So if I just make them straight across on that sidewalk, it looks more realistic. So when things you can copy your horizon line. That looks really cool. And so next is the same thing with your buildings. This is where people get a little bit tricked. If it's below your horizon line, your lines are going to copy that road line that my finger is on. So when I do my door, I'm just going to take my ruler, drag it up where the top of my door would be, and draw little straight lines for my door. There we go. And then I'm going to copy that bottom line. Watch, right there. Okay, so it's like I copied and pasted it there. Same thing with my windows. As my windows, if they're below my horizon line, that's the line that cuts my paper in half in the middle, I'm going to copy the bottom diagonal line or guideline. This part's tricky, but I think you can do it. And if it's above the horizon line, it would copy the top part of your building. So go ahead and add details, trying to use those guidelines to make your windows look more realistic. I'm going to go ahead and finish up my details of my building, and I'm going to add a sunset that goes from one side to the other on my horizon line. I'm going to erase my above guidelines because I don't need those anymore, and then I'm going to get ready to outline. As you're outlining, if you want to add more details, you totally can. Just go ahead and you can add them with pencil if you're more comfortable, but when you're outlining, I just want you to try to get everything that you did in pencil to make it nice and bold and neat. I added some clouds in my sky, and if you look at my trees on the left, I did a little bit different on some of them. As you start to color this, you can really, if you just want to turn it in your drawing, that's fine too, but if you want to take it a step farther, you can color it. And if you're coloring, I want you to keep in mind that value is a thing. And so the things that are facing the sun, like the sides of the building, are going to be lighter, and the front of the building, the thing that's closest to you, is going to be a little bit darker because it's more in the shadow of the sun. And so as you can see on the left side of my building, it's a little bit lighter than the right side of my building, the front side. And so the same thing with the windows. You just want to color lighter on those sides. So as I finish up coloring, remember you can really make this your own. You can do the trees how you'd like, or the road. Maybe your background's going to be a little bit different. Maybe you want to do a sunset. Whatever you decide, don't get frustrated, take your time, and always try again. I can't wait to see what you created, so make sure you upload a picture or a video onto Canvas so we can stay connected. Have fun!